What's up, KOH fam? Mike Barr back this week with a tutorial. Today we're going to be going over a classic in Magic, the card spring. So, not going to beat around the bush. Let's get down to it, and I'm going to teach you the secret tip that most tutorials don't. So let's get to it. So what is it about the card spring that is so incredible? Well, if you've done Magic, you'll recognize this. Yo, you do Magic? Yeah, I do a little bit of Magic, sure. Yo, can you show me a card trick? Yeah, man, I don't know. This is, Yo, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. For some reason, the card spring, to most lay people, is just the coolest thing you can do with a deck of cards. So I'm gonna touch on some finer details and really just some things I've learned about the card spring over the past 10 years or so that just a lot of tutorials really don't touch on. So let's change the angle of the view here, and yeah, we'll get right down to it. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the grip. Now, the grip with the card spring, there's a few different grips that I've seen played around with. Most people, when they first start playing with the card spring, they try and spring from the edges. So meaning, if we take a look at the deck of cards, there's four corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's the two short edges and the two long edges. Most people think that the card spring is done from the two short edges, doing something like this. That works. It works. It is adequate. I prefer springing from the corners. Now, what is the difference between the two? Well, really, it comes down to the sound. And I'll show you what I mean. If I spring from the edges like this versus springing from the corners like this, you can hear the difference in the sound. One is much louder, one is much more subtle. I prefer springing from the corners because it gives it a more subtle sound to it. So here's our next tip with the card spring, and that is the card spring is not only a card spring, it's a combination of two separate flourishes. What are those flourishes? Well, the first is obviously the spring, and the second, which I believe produces a cleaner and quieter spring, is the waterfall flourish. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a close up here. If we take a look, when I first grip the cards for a spring, I'm not just flexing the cards like this. If we take a look closer, there is a little bit of air between all of these cards. Now, I believe that one of the keys to the spring is getting as much air between the cards before releasing the cards as possible. So I don't just attack with a death grip. I actually introduce a lot of air between these cards. What this does is it just creates for a smoother springing action. I'll do it again. So again, not a death grip. Buckle the cards, introduce the air, and then release. How do we get that flexing action? Well, let's take a look at not the catching hand, in this case, my left hand, but the hand that's actually doing the bulk of the spring, which is the spring hand. If we take a look, when I hold the deck of cards for a spring, now I've been doing it so long that I kind of naturally get into this, pseudo waterfall spring position almost immediately. Now, when I take the deck of cards, I start with my thumb and I take my middle knuckle, which is right here. So really, the base of the ball of my thumb, right about where that line is, and I place that on the back corner of the deck of cards. All right, and I get to here, and now my other fingers, I use these three fingers. So my ring, my middle, and my index. My pinky doesn't really do anything here. It kind of just curls up and stays out of the way. Now, I'm going to try and get the best view of this that I can. So my back thumb in, and to the opposite corner. So if my thumb's at the bottom left corner, my other 3 fingers are going to the top right corner. So again, thumb at the base, my 3 fingers come in, and I grab, really my ring finger makes contact first at the base of the first knuckle, and then my other 2 fingers follow suit in a straight line. So you can see that the top edge runs along in a straight line. So I get to here. Now, what's important is that I get this angle, so this 45-degree angle with my top fingers, because what that is going to allow me to do is buckle the cards. So let's do that again. So we're here, back thumb, 3 fingers at the front. Now, it's a combination of both sets of fingers. So I'm going to refer to my thumb as one set and these 3 fingers as another set. Both sets of fingers are doing the buckling action. So I'm squeezing with my thumb, and I'm flexing with my front 3 fingers to buckle the cards like this. So now, if we can see, that angle that was here, this 45-degree angle that was there, is no longer there. The cards have now contoured to it. And my back thumb is just barely holding those cards in. Let's see if I could focus that. All right, just barely holding them. And that's going to come in to play when we talk about the most important aspect of the card spring, which I don't really see taught anywhere, which is straighten ya dang thumbs. All right, now when I say straighten ya dang thumbs, what do I mean? Watch this thumb as I spring the cards. All right, so we get the buckled action. Now watch this thumb. I'll do it again. Watch this thumb. So we buckle, come in. What's up, KOH fam? This is Mike Barr coming back at you from post-edit. You could see over there, I am actually editing this video as we speak. Now, why the angle change, might you be asking? Well, being a new YouTuber, I may or may not have forgotten to film some footage. So we're gonna go over the grip of the catching hand right now for the card spring. So let's get into that right now. All right, so now the grip for the catching hand, right? So we've gone over to this point, the introducing the air into this system, the straightening of the thumb, all of those things. But we haven't really talked about what the catching hand is doing, which is another real secret to the card spring, which this is a good opportunity to talk about some different grips used in Magic and cardistry, which I'm going to do a whole separate video on at some point. But for now, the 2 grips that we really need to know about are the classic mechanics grip and the straddle grip. Now, the mechanics grip in and of itself, I'm going to go through these 2 very quickly. The mechanics grip is like this. First off, the cards are very flat in the hand. They're not elevated like they are going to be in the straddle grip. There's the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky along the far side, or the near side long edge. I'm saying near side, meaning the side nearest to your body in this case. The index finger along the far side short edge, and the thumb running parallel to the far side long edge. The straddle grip is something more like this. Now the cards, as you can see, are much more elevated in the hand. They're not actually touching the palm either. They are clipped between the near side pinky and the far side index finger on the short edges. Now the pressure is such that there's pressure going away from the pinky and pressure coming towards you with the index finger. So much so that you can hold the cards just with those two fingers. Now, the middle finger and the ring finger, they're just kind of hanging out, going along for the ride along the near side long edge. Now, you'll also notice, and I pointed this out, the cards are off of my palm. They are suspended just by these fingers. Now, what is the grip for the catching hand when you're doing a card spring? Well, you can see they finish in a straddle grip. But when you're actually doing the spring, and I wonder if I can get a good angle for this, the index finger of the catching hand is not really doing anything. It's actually out of the way, and maybe you can see this. The fingers that are doing most of the catching are the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky. The index finger is just kind of stretched out, staying out of the way, you know? So I guess you could say that the grip is actually a combination between a mechanic's grip, in that the cards are flat in the palm, and a straddle grip. So it's kind of like this pseudo mechanic straddle grip type thing, where really only these three fingers are involved. So that's pretty much all I've got on the grip. So again, this is Mike Barr signing off, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace. That's the secret to the card spring, guys. It's just straightening this thumb. You know, I don't see this really talked about anywhere, but in the years that I've been doing the card spring, that's the tip that I give to all beginners, and it all just makes sense, like it clicks immediately. Because most tutorials, they just say, you know, you get to your position and then you let the cards fall off of the thumb. Fall off of the thumb, what does that mean? Well, it means literally take your thumb from here, this curled position, and straighten them out. So that's it for the tutorial, guys. Just a little quick overview. Remember, spring from the corners, not the edges. You'll get a quieter spring that way. Introduce air into the system. Again, quieter spring that way. Remember, barely hold the cards with your thumb, because that's why when you straighten your thumb, which is again my secret to the card spring, it'll make your spring that much simpler. And with the catching hand, remember, not a mechanic's grip, not a straddle grip, relaxed grip, curling in the pinky. So I guess you could say that the secret to the card spring comes down to a thumb and a pinky. So that's it for my tutorial this week, guys. If you like stuff like this, leave it in a comment down below. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Remember, so important. And subscribe. So this is Mike Barr, King of Hearts Magic, signing off until next week. Peace.